So now I would like to welcome our speaker. So Jessica Rawlley. So Jessica is the founder and head of growth at TieIt, a leading edge data insights and all-in-one sales, marketing, and business management platform. Over the years, Jessica has won various awards, including the 2018 Entrepreneur of the Year Award and the 2020 Woman of Excellence Award. She's also really passionate about giving back in the entrepreneurship community and actually volunteers as a mentor. So she is actually a mentor for the Ella program, which is a part of Y Space, and teaches youth at Y2 Entrepreneurship Labs. Welcome, Jessica.
Thank you so much, Diana. I'm very excited to be here, and hello, everybody. Tonight, really what we're going to talk about is CRMs, customer relationship management, how best to really get a handle on your interactions with customers, with prospects, and really how to use technology to help your business grow and take it to the next level. That's really what it's all about, right? Is no matter where you are, what stage you're at, everybody's goal on today's call and today's meeting should be how to take the business to the next level. How do I scale it? How do I make it big? Right? So how do we use tools to our advantage to help do that? So that's really what we're going to be diving into today. In terms of the agenda, just really quickly, what is a CRM? How to use it effectively? Like I said, how to track interactions, customer engagement, really how to use a CRM to close more deals, right? How do we generate more prospects and how do we really close more of those deals to keep winning them? And then obviously some best practices to be more productive and profitable. I will share some tips, even if you are on a budget or you don't have a budget for a CRM just yet. So we'll talk through some of those things. To give you a quick background, so Diana gave you my 500-word spiel of who I am, but I'm just going to give you a quick background story of who I am, just to share that we all started at the same spot. So I've been an entrepreneur since I was about 24 years old. I actually have a legal background. I started my own legal practice at 24 in a small town in the GTA in Newmarket. And I did that for 5 years. And as I was growing the business, I started to see challenges with technology, believe it or not, where in the legal space, if anybody's in the legal space, you'll totally understand this. But a lot of their methodologies, their technology is very old school. And so I was trying to run my legal practice in more of a new school type of way. And it didn't always work, right? I came across a lot of challenges. And so with that being said, I actually went to a networking event in Toronto where I met my now business partner. At the time, he was actually starting his own digital marketing website development company while he tried to get his technology company off the ground. I hired him to do my website, and back then, websites weren't really a thing for businesses, especially in the legal practice. It was more business cards and yellow pages and things like that. And so I knew I wanted to do something different, right? I wanted to stand out. So at that point, I did the website, I got my social media up, I did SEO, and he happened to actually get me ranking higher than my competitors in the same industry. To the point where my biggest competitor actually called him and said, "Hey, whatever you're doing for Jessica, I need you to do it for me and I'll pay you double." So he didn't work like that. He said, "No, she's my client. We're going to stick to it." So clearly we were doing something right. At the time, he was building a software that very much interested me. So we actually joined forces. I was running our technology company and the legal practice at the same time. As you can imagine, I got pretty burnt out pretty quickly, to the point where I had to make a decision as to which avenue I'm going to go. So I sold my legal practice and I've been doing the technology thing ever since. No regrets at all. Together, we joined forces and we built a company called MassPros. This started in about 2012. And the way that we decided to do our growth was through the franchising model. So we knew we wanted to grow fast. We knew we wanted to grow globally. And we built a whole entire franchise that we were able to then sell across the globe. We have franchisees across North America, the UK, Australia, and Dubai. Basically what it was a digital marketing franchise for those individuals who wanted to go and sell marketing services, technology, software, but didn't have the development house to do it, they would come and become one of our franchisees, and we were that development house for them. So they could just focus on selling and helping their clients grow. We ended up becoming the second fastest growing digital marketing franchise across the globe. We partnered with large companies to help them, again, take their business to the next level using technology. That's always been our thing, is we get into an industry, we figure out, okay, how can we make it better, but with the use of technology. We got some awards. We got the most innovative software by the National Independent Auto Dealer Association. We built an automotive software management system. They got recognized with them. So basically, we were growing. We were growing at a fast scale, but ironically enough, as we were growing, technology became a hindrance for us, because at the time we were using so many different applications to run our business. Okay. At the beginning, we were so focused on the growth of our business. Believe it or not, we didn't think about things like contact organization. We didn't think about things like processes, which, you know, happens. You focus more on the growth of your company. You don't do all the back end stuff, right? And we're all guilty of that. I definitely am one of them. But that caused us to have a little bit of a break in our growth strategy. So as I said, we didn't really have the technology that we needed in place from the start. Okay. So when we tried to put it in the middle of our growth, as you can imagine, things kind of went haywire. Our billing was completely out of control because we were using archaic ways of billing. We didn't really have a good handle on what marketing strategies were working because we weren't really tracking that information. We weren't tracking where potential franchisees, potential customers were coming from. We really didn't have much of a sales forecasting going on, again, because we weren't managing our deals, what was in the pipeline. We weren't managing things like what content is working, what is actually helping us convert leads over and over again. Because again, we just didn't have a proper system in place. So what we did at the time is we went out, we searched. We researched what was out there, what technology is good for a company like ours at that stage, and what would be good for us in terms of our growth strategy and things like that. And at the time, there wasn't really an all-in-one system. There was, you could get your CRM, and then you could get other pieces for billing and other pieces for email marketing and social media, and you can try and integrate all of that together. At the time, because of where we were, we knew that that didn't really work for us. We knew, because we had a development team, they said eventually those integrations will break. So because they're all third-party systems you're trying to piece together. And so what we decided to do is actually build something ourselves. We built out a system that we knew we needed, that would be useful for our business at that time, right? And that's where TieIt came from. So TieIt is an all-in-one system. All these modules that I have listed over here on the right-hand side are built innately, are built from scratch within the system. So we don't rely on third-party integrations. And that's just because we knew that these were the different elements in our business that we needed to get a handle on, and that we needed to help control, become more efficient, become more effective in these areas. So for example, we needed to manage our sales and our marketing and our billing, all the way through to communications. We needed to get a better handle on that. And so that's how we built TieIt. As we were building the system, we relied a lot on customer feedback. We went back to just regular customers and we said, hey, what are you using in other systems? What do you like and dislike? They gave us their feedback. And then they all said, hey, whenever you're done building whatever you're building, sign us up, because we're having the same challenge. We're using all these multiple different systems. We're trying to grow our business and it's just not working. And that's how and why TieIt kind of became its own beast on its own. To date, we've got, government organizations using the system, small to mid-sized companies, industries, all businesses in all different industries using our system. So it's been very, very cool to see how, out of a problem that we had in our business, we were able to come up with something pretty unique. So that's a background about me. Just really wanted to share with you guys that I know how it is to grow a business from scratch, multiple businesses, and what you need and don't need at certain times through your growth strategy. Learn from my mistakes. I'm a big proponent of sharing mistakes. I don't like to come out here and share that entrepreneurship is fluffy and sunny and rainbows all the time. It is tough. at times, and I'm all about sharing mistakes that you can learn from. If you can learn from me, all power to you. All right, so let's get into the nitty gritty now. So what is a CRM? And really quickly, before I kind of jump in, it'd be good to know how many of you are currently using a CRM. And Danny, you may have to help me in terms of telling me how many people put up their hands.
So far I see 4 people.
Okay. Awesome. And that's all good. Perfect. And as we're going through the presentation today, if you have any questions as we go through it, as Danny mentioned, please feel free to just put it in the chat. I find we learn a lot better being more interactive, just asking questions. And I really don't mind being interrupted at all. I'll pick up wherever we leave off. So don't worry about that. Okay, perfect. So we got 4 people using it. That's some type of CRM. So that's good. So really, just to start, what is a CRM? It just stands for customer relationship management system or tool or platform of some type. It does provide a central place where you can store and track your customer and your prospect data. It's both, right? You want to make sure customers, potential partners, potential prospects, referral sources, all of that is tracked somewhere. And it also tracks your communications as well as the interactions that you've had with these folks. This information is then shared with your team members, right? The last thing you want is information written in a notebook or on your desk. And now that we're all kind of working remotely, or even if it's, just you by yourself, how many times can you scroll through a book, right? How can you go back and remember what you wrote, what notes you wrote back? We'll get into Excel in a second, but Excel, actually we'll get into that in a second, but writing in Excel, sometimes you can't always share, sometimes you can't always go back and search for the information that you need to. Now, a good CRM should allow you to automate tasks, streamline your processes, should allow you to collaborate with team members in some way, and provides you the ability to create custom reports for your business. The reporting side of things is really important with any technology that you're using. You want to make sure that there's some way that you're capturing all of the data and that data is doing something for you, meaning it's giving you the information that you need to help your business take it to the next level. So taking that leap though from Excel to a CRM, and everybody does this. Excel is an amazing tool for you to keep track of certain information, to create those nice tables and charts and all that stuff. I'm not here to knock Excel. Trust me, I still use it. But it does have certain limitations, okay? Especially as you begin to scale. So again, it's a great tool to use, especially if you are on a tight budget, starting off with an Excel or even a Google Doc, because that Google Doc gives you that element to share with your team members as well. But again, it does have its limitations, right? So you can get by only using Excel and a couple other methods to organize customers, your products or services at first. The at first part are the keywords, right? You can only do that for so long before things get completely out of hand. Soon you have contacts, they're spread out in different email programs and spreadsheets and other documents. So which also ultimately leads to your marketing just becoming scattered, right? You're not able to track what's happening, what's working, what emails worked, what calls worked. And again, the Excel doesn't actually remind you of follow-ups, making sure that you're on top of your leads as much as you should be, as you're growing your business. So why do you need a CRM? All right, it improves contact relationships. So when I say contact relationship, that kind of encompasses your customers, your prospects, your partners, distributors, vendors, referral sources. You need a place to keep all that information. So again, if somebody's asking for vendor information on your team, or even if yourself is looking for vendor information, the last thing you want is to waste time trying to search for that information, again, in a notebook or in an Excel or in a Google Doc. Eventually that time is going to catch up to you. Okay, it's going to eat up a lot of your day. It does improve customer retention and revenue. Again, those follow-up reminders are always going to keep you in front of your customers more than you should be, which is good, right? Because the last thing you want is to close a deal and then you're so caught up in closing more deals, you're forgetting about your customers. right? It's that rule. It's a lot easier to retain an existing customer that you spent a lot of time with than getting a new one. So customer retention, incredibly, incredibly important. Obviously that could lead to more referrals. So keep that in mind. Better team collaboration. So right now, I know some of you or a lot of you are in kind of that startup. It might just be you right now. But eventually the goal is to grow, right? Is to bring on more team members. So having better team collaboration through improved internal communication, whether that's assigning tasks to each other, whether that's an internal chat that's built in, keeping each other accountable. So if you assign somebody a task and you want to make sure that it's done for that customer, it's all being tracked in the system, in some type of system to say, okay, you know, Bobby did the task or not, and why didn't you do it? Also, training tools. So again, as you are growing, as you bring on more team members, this is a great resource for you. Having the CRM system or a system of some type allows you to utilize that as a training tool for the future. And we'll get into that in terms of building out processes and then how to give those processes and scripts and email templates to the next person to just follow. You've perfected that process, you're still perfecting it, but you've built out this pipeline or this process that you can then hand over to your new team member. Optimizing your marketing. Okay, so like I said, a good CRM tool has some type of marketing that's built in, whether that's sending out automated emails, whether that's saving templates and things like that. But that allows you to send more targeted messages, which ultimately increase conversions. Okay, so if you are segmenting your contacts in your CRM, you're defining who they are. So let's say, for example, your product is going after, a product or service can go after 3 different industries, right? All those industries, they don't all talk the same lingo. They all don't think the same. The challenges might be different to each one of those industries. What you want to do is come up with targeted messages for each one of those industries. That will increase your conversions. If you go and send out one message, the same message, a blanketed message to all 3 of the potential prospects you have in those 3 industries, your conversion rates are going to be much, much lower. So keep that in mind. Targeted messages, although it sounds cumbersome, it sounds like, oh my God, I got to create 3 different versions of this email or this text message or this landing page. In the end, your conversion rates will be much, much higher. So how do we use a CRM most effectively? Okay, so again, I've mentioned this kind of a couple of times here, but a CRM needs to have multiple different facets of your business. So the main functions of your business should in some way connect and work together. Okay, so if you take a step back and go, you know, maybe what are the 3 or 4 main functions of your business? I've kind of outlined 4 here that fall under quite a few of the industry. So let's kind of go through those, right? Because a full CRM system will provide you with that centralized platform to be able to manage your contacts, create processes, to manage sales and onboarding, conduct your marketing, process your billing, and provide customer support. So if, again, just kind of take a step back and say, okay, well, what are my 3 or 4 major components of my business and how can I better manage it? How can I better manage it more effectively? So let's say, for example, we'll start at the top here with marketing. So your marketing is going to eventually lead to your sales, right? And all these kind of 4 different areas have some type of automation that's built in, and we'll get into automation and how to utilize that. But your marketing is going to lead to some type of sale. Your sales, because you're going to streamline processes better, where it's automatically going to bill. So you've closed that deal. The last thing you want is to waste time having to, I don't know, go into a Word document and then create a brand new template for a brand new invoice and then send that out. Think about ways to automate and streamline those kind of basic tasks, right? Because that process of you creating the quote or creating the proposal and the invoice is going to happen over and over and over again, right? That's the goal here. We need to be able to bill and create quotes and proposals far more often than we should just be able to create them a lot. And so you need to be able to automate that process, that whole process in general. So how do we do that? Right? So from sales to billing, how can we automate that? From billing, okay, so they've billed, they've paid, it then naturally moves on to some type of support and feedback. So in your industry or in your business, is there some type of ongoing support that you can provide to your customers that you've closed? Whether that's follow-up emails, whether that's regular emails on a weekly or monthly basis, just to touch base with them. If it's a technology, if it's a software, you need to be in front of them, make sure that they're getting those weekly or monthly touch points, especially during the onboarding process. If it's a product that you've sold, make sure that they're enjoying it. So make sure you get feedback in the sense of surveys, right? So send out a survey. Hey, did you enjoy our new chocolate product? If they did, make sure maybe, I don't know, a month later, hey, did you know that we have a similar product to that chocolate that you ordered last month that I think you might really enjoy, right? All of that, those follow-ups, those engagements, those interactions are all support that you're providing to your clients. Ongoing support, again, if you are more of a service-based industry or even a product, but you want to be able to provide support, you may have some type of ticketing system that you want to initiate, or you want to integrate in with the CRM. Think about that. So that's also the support piece that it naturally will move into. As you're working in that support and feedback bubble, the other thing you want to start thinking about is capturing the data, capturing feedback and keeping track of it, because all of that is just going to allow you to do more targeted messaging, which will eventually lead to better marketing. So if a person is using your product or using your service, okay, and they're providing you with feedback, either whether it's good or bad, you're going to want to keep track of that in some way. And in a CRM, if you've got a built-in ticketing system of some type, it should keep track of that. So you can always go back and say, oh, look, you know, John really liked the product. He liked X about it. He liked this about it. Then you can use that information as accolades. You can use that information as part of your content strategy, your marketing that you're going to use out and say, our product does X really, really well. Why? Because John said so, right? You've got actual feedback from customers now. So it's keeping track of that. The ticketing system that could be kind of connected to the CRM, or even if it's like email support system, have that automated. The last thing you want, again, is to manually keep track of that information. So don't rely on just one-to-one emails where you're going to take that information, copy and paste it and put it into Excel. It'll work for the first couple of weeks, maybe even months, but eventually you will not have time to do those basic tasks. Okay, you won't have time, or you won't remember to go and copy that data from the email and then go put it into the Excel or the Google Drive doc that you've created. So just keep those things in mind. These basic tasks that are okay now, doing 3 different steps or a couple of different clicks, is good for now, but just think down the road, how do I automate that? So let's move on to the next slide here. So all those interactions and customer engagements that I was just talking to you about, how do we best track it? Okay, how do we keep track of all that data without it just being housed in our emails and then trying to remember, oh yeah, John sent me this email 2 months ago, let me go back and search for it. How do we better keep track of that data? The biggest thing that I tell a lot of folks is your CRM data is only as good as the data that you input into it. Okay, so a CRM at the end of the day, any CRM, any Excel, any Google Drive, whatever it is only that until you start actually inputting proper data. Okay, so if you're only going to use a CRM system literally as a phone book, just adding first name, last name, and an email address or a phone number, it's no good for you. Okay, you might as well just use your contact phone, on your phone. You got to put good data, and you have to know what that good data is for your business, right? So as a team or as yourself at the beginning, create a strategy on how to best input the necessary data. The key word there in that sentence is necessary. Okay. So for example, what information is key to track for each contact? So in most CRM systems, they have what we refer to as custom fields. Okay, so they normally have, you know, your set of predefined fields that they give every customer that joins. So that's your typical stuff, like your emails, your phone numbers, your first and last names, tags and things like that, you know, maybe where they came from, maybe some social media information. Those are basic fields that they provide for you. But in most CRMs, and especially if you are looking to track specific data, this is something to add to your list of things to look for in a CRM. They have custom fields. So these are fields that you have the ability to create yourself. You can define the type of the field it is. So whether it's a drop down, whether it's multiple choice, it's a text field, it's a paragraph, it's how you want to input the data. Again, remember that. So for example, let's say you're selling clothing as your business. Okay. You may want to keep track of the customer sizes. Okay. You may want to keep track of preferred colors. Did they purchase pants or a shirt, you know, hat size, things like that. If you're more program based and you need to track, let's say, ages of individuals. Okay. If you are offering programs to youth, as an example, you may need to keep track of the individual's children's names and their ages who are in specific programs. Okay. Other things that people keep track of, employee sizes, like, you know, how big is the actual company? Is it 1 to 5? Is it 6 to 10? Demographic, gender, things like that. So these are things that may not be readily available in the CRM when you sign up for it, but if they have custom fields, take advantage of it. Okay, because the more data you're inputting into the CRM, the better the output's going to be in terms of reports. Okay, so now I can see and say, let's say I'm offering programs. Well, I'm having more children in the ages of 12 to 15 that are joining my programs more versus kids that are 18 plus, as an example, because you'll be able to pull those reports. So that's just one way that you need to kind of take a step back and say, again, figure out which pieces of data is good for you to keep track of. The other strategy that you want to also implement is, how do you want to best segment your contacts? Okay, so segmenting your contacts, again, allows you to put contacts into silos in terms of who are they? How do you identify them? Are they referral sources? Are they partners? Are they potential partners? Are they resellers? Are these people that have at one point in time mentioned to you that they are interested in reselling your product? Why is that important to keep track of? Because down the road, you may want to do an email campaign to them and say, hey, we just launched a brand new product that we think would also be great for your service offering. Are you still interested in being a reseller? We've just put together a reseller program. You don't want to sell that. You don't want to send that type of email to potential prospects. So you need to make sure that the CRM is keeping track of who's a potential reseller and who's a potential prospect. Okay, you can even narrow it down further. Realtors versus developers. You know, again, it just depends on your business and what it is. So you want to utilize in a CRM, they have certain things like tags or labels or groups. They have some type of way of segmenting your contacts. And one of the biggest mistakes we've seen a lot of businesses and users make is they get what we call tag happy. Okay, they'll create a tag for everything. So they'll create a tag for a realtor, male, in Toronto, age 25, and they'll have a tag for every single age. You know, so this is why creating a strategy is really important. You want to utilize both the custom fields and the tags. So you're making sure you're utilizing both types of ways to segment your contacts, again, for better reporting. And so this way you don't end up with 250 tags. And while you're inputting data, you don't want to have to keep searching through tags, and then you don't find it, then you go and create another duplicate tag of the same thing. So make sure you are coming up with a strategy of, these are the tags, these are the groups that we want to create and that we want to stick to, and keep track of that, keep note of it somewhere, so that when you, again, onboard new team members, they're knowing exactly, okay, if I add a new customer in and they change from prospect to customer, we got to move them into that group to make sure that they're in the customer group so they get the right types of emails. Okay. And lastly, you want to make sure that you're inputting all deals, all activities. Okay. Whether or not you're going to close that deal or not, you want to make sure you're inputting that data. Why? Because you can learn from it. The best deals that you can learn from are the deals you did not close. You learn what not to say on the calls. You learn what not to say in the emails because you're keeping track of all that information, right? You're going to input the call notes. You're going to input your meeting notes. If you recorded the Zoom meeting, you can put a link to it in your meeting notes. You can always go back and reference it. You're going to keep track of your emails because you want to know what worked, what didn't work. You want to make sure you want to track how much time in between did you wait before you did a follow-up call or a follow-up email to see how to close that deal. So you want to make this almost very religious for yourself and your team members to be using the CRM and to be inputting that data and all activities. We have companies that tell their sales team, if the deal is not in the CRM system, you don't get commission for it. If you didn't even put in the deal, if you didn't input all your activities and you just go and mark it as a one deal, you closed it, doesn't matter. And you add it afterwards, it doesn't matter. It doesn't count. You don't get your commission. So you have to be that strict with it to make sure that the system, whatever system you're going to use, becomes religious for your business, becomes essentially your back end system. Okay. So again, it's great to write notes, and heck, I write notes too in a notepad, but I make it a habit. As I'm on a call, I like to write, but as soon as I'm done that call, I'll go in and type the notes right away. I won't move on to my next task until I go in and type in my notes. Okay. And that's kind of a tip for people who might not be used to technology at the beginning. They might just be too, it's a habit to write notes. But just tell them, keep continuing to write your notes in your book if you're a writer. But again, just make sure right as soon as you're done that call, you go back into the system and you type in the notes. That's how you're going to keep track of your interactions. That's how, as a team, you're going to become more effective because you're going to have now a method to track what worked and what did not work. Other ways to track interactions is more automated methodologies. So this would be through connecting your email or your calendar. So in most CRMs also, they'll have some type of way to connect either your email or your calendar or both. Okay, so in our case, for example, if you're sending out an email from your Google email, that email will automatically get put into your CRM. So you don't have to go and manually move the email. As long as your sync is on between your CRM system and your email, again, whatever emails you're sending and receiving are all going to get put under John Doe's profile. So when I open up John Doe, I'm going to see all the emails that I've sent in. And if I'm away on vacation and my team member, Susie, she gets a call from John and John's all upset. He says, oh, well, Jessica said she was going to get me all the information by Friday. Well, now Susie can just log into the CRM and be able to see the entire email thread that I had with John. And she could say, oh no, John, she meant she's going to get that back to you on Friday when she's back from vacation. Right. So now what we're doing is we're increasing accountability. We're providing the customer now with a better experience. And at the end of the day, that is so important for every single business on this call, for every industry. You got to give your customer the best experience, right? That's how they're going to keep coming back to you. And that's how they're going to keep referring business to you. So if just something as little as having your email sync on so that the rest of your team can be aware of what's going on and everyone's got a touch point on the customer, that's what's going to increase conversions for you. That's what's going to increase that engagement and that retention for all your customers. Same thing with your calendar, right? So if you've got meetings that are already scheduled, they're on your Google Calendar or they're on, I don't know, your Yahoo Calendar, whatever it happens to be, your Office 365, your Outlook, all that stuff's going to automatically get synced in, right? One of the biggest hesitancies I see with companies kind of switching over to a CRM. So first would be budget, cost. They're just not even sure how much it's going to cost. And the second would be they think it's more tedious, it's more work to do it because they're saying, well, I'm already using my Google Calendar on my phone. It works amazing. I just add it in here and it's done. And so then they think, well, with the CRM system, I then have to go into my CRM and then add it in there. No, you don't. With a CRM system, if that's important for you, make sure that the CRM you choose to get into has an automated way to connect your calendar with the CRM. So you can still do what you're doing and add it into your phone, but then knowing that that event that you added in your phone is automatically going to get synced into your CRM, sorry, so you don't have to do double entry. Okay, so that's just another automated method. Other ways would be sync with your VoIP system. So if anybody here uses some type of voice over IP system, so you know the phone system to send out text messages or anything like that, there are CRM systems that sync with them. So for example, if a call comes in, you can actually answer the call through your CRM, and it keeps a note, or it keeps a recorded file of your entire call. So for those of you who are absolutely not note takers at all and just hate the thought of writing notes down, your VoIP system can actually keep a copy of it, and then it'll be noted in the CRM. Okay. These are all things I'm just kind of mentioning that you as a business owner have to think, what is important for me? What is going to help my business grow? What do I know are my challenges as a business owner? What system, what ideal system would actually help me get over those hurdles? Texting, if you're finding, and texting is huge right now in marketing, especially with follow-ups. So if you are going to be taking advantage of texting as part of your marketing strategy, there are systems out there that will allow you to automate your text messages. So it'll automatically be sent out, or you can send the text directly through your CRM, and it keeps note of it directly under the contact's profile, and it'll show up on your phone. And lastly, chatbots. Those are also huge right now. So if you are utilizing a chatbot on your website, you can also integrate that with some of your CRM systems as well, so that you can keep track of what's actually happening on the website, and then track your conversion. So again, what in the messages worked? Did that customer actually become, or that prospect, sorry, that came in through that website chatbot, did they actually become a customer? So other things to note down.
Oh, Jess, we have a question.
Sure.
So what is a chat bot? From Jeff.
Chat bot would be on your website. In some websites that you'll go to, they have like a little, looks like a little like message icon in the bottom right corner usually. And it'll ask you, hi, can I help you with something today? Or it acts as a support, so you can click on it and then just a chat with whoever it is on the other line.
Okay, and one more question from this one comes from Indy. With the sync to VoIP, does it simply record the conversation or transcribe it?
It depends. It depends on the system that you utilize. So some will actually put a recording, some will translate it for you, or transcribe it, sorry, for you. Some will do both, some will do none. It really depends at the end of the day, which VoIP system you go with, and then which CRM system you go with. So you kind of want to go with the CRM first, and then you can always check what integrations they have. The other option is, if you are really, set on the VoIP system you're using right now and you love it, follow up with them and see what systems do they currently integrate with. That would be my suggestion.
Okay, great. Those are all the questions in the chat.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Go on for another 10 minutes or so, go through these next couple of slides, and we'll take a quick break. All right, so how do we use a CRM to close more deals? This really is the most important question, right? How do we use the technology to do what it's supposed to do for us? So now we all know this, to close more deals, we need to have a better understanding of who our customers are, right? So, I mean, all of us here, we've all done our customer personas. I hope at some point we all know who our customers are. We've done those different customer personas, right? And then obviously taking it a step further, understanding their problems and their challenges. So who is our potential customers? Who do we want to sell to? And what challenges are they having? And how can we help them with my product, with my service? How can I help them get over that problem, right? So that's the first time. We first need to understand who we're actually talking to, or who we're trying to go after. Then it's tracking that customer journey. Okay. So how did the customer find you? This is really, really important, especially from a marketing standpoint. Did they find you through the website? Did they find you through social media, through a referral? You must keep track of that data. Okay. If they didn't come through an automated method, like through your website, feel free to ask them. Okay. In my initial follow-up email, where people come in through the website, one thing we've learned through trial and error is when a lead requests a demo, in my first sentence in my email, and this again was done through a lot of trial and error and a lot of A/B testing, I asked the customer, how did you hear about us? Because I know that they may not have done just a regular Google search. Okay. They may have heard about us through a referral. They may have just seen a post about us on social media. And I want to know that information. I want to know where they came from, who recommended them. If they were recommended from a customer, well, I want to go back to that customer and I want to thank them for that referral. Right? So don't always just assume that they're coming through the website. Someone must have told them about you, and then they obviously, just kind of Googled your name, and then that's how they found you. But feel free to ask people that. Don't feel shy about asking, how did you actually find out about us? And keep track of that data. What email templates have received the most replies? So as you're tracking this customer journey, again, where did they come from, and what communication engaged them with you? What kept them engaged with you? What text messages got sent out to them? What email templates actually worked and did not work? When was the best time to call them? Again, all that information you need to track. You can't just go willy-nilly. I know at the beginning, it kind of just seems like I got leads. I just got to work them. There's got to be some thought process to it though. Okay. You got to keep track of this type of data. It's only going to help you close deals a lot quicker and a lot more efficiently. What's the best thing to say on to these prospects on calls or meetings? This is going to lead to those call scripts that you are eventually going to need as you grow your team, or just for yourself to be able to know, okay, what should I say and what should I not say on these calls? Call scripts are really, really important. All right, next is creating that pipeline. So as you are tracking that customer journey, as you're trying to figure out, okay, what works, what doesn't work, where are people actually coming from, all this is going to lead to you being able to create that process. Okay, and in your CRM system, there should be some type of way to create a pipeline or an opportunity, as they call it in some CRMs. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to create stages. Okay, so what stages of the process is good to actually track? So here's an example of a very simple 5-stage sales process. Okay, so first one is always initial qualifying. Who is the person? Where did they come from? Are they actually worthy of my time? Are they a good prospect? I know, again, at the beginning, as you're growing, every prospect is a great prospect. But eventually you're going to need to qualify those leads. So you're making sure you're not wasting time. Okay. And eventually you'll also learn what are those questions that you need to ask these folks to qualify to make sure that they are a good lead for you. All right. Next stage, some type of meeting, demo that it's that first actual interaction that you're having with the lead or the prospect. Okay, so the initial qualifying can either be done all emails, could be done calls, but this next stage is where you're actually speaking one-on-one with them, whether that's Zoom or whether it's in person eventually, right? Third stage. So once you've met with them, there should be some type of quote or proposal sent out to them, right? Again, if it's you're selling products, if you're selling services of some type, you've already pre-qualified them. They're good enough to get on a meeting with you. You've now had that, half an hour long meeting with them where you've pulled out their challenges, you've pulled out their problems, you know what they're looking for, and they've asked you for a price. So in this third stage is where you're going to go and create that quote or that proposal and send it to them. The fourth stage is then that follow-up. Okay, so once you've sent the quote and proposal, and this is where a lot of businesses lose track of people, is they send out the quote and then they just forget to follow up. And that's where you lose a lot of those prospects, because you got to be on top of them. Because at certain points, these people might be kind of browsing around and, browsing and shopping around. you need to make sure you're in front of them. You need to make sure you're on top of them so that another quote doesn't look better, or another business or another competitor isn't following up with that customer more than you are. So this stage will, again, remind you to follow up. There has to be some type of automated reminder of some type in there to say, hey, have you heard back from John Doe yet regarding the quote? Follow up with John Doe, whatever happens to be. And the time frame in between that quote and the proposal and when you send the follow-up varies. Okay, I know I wish I had the right answer. It depends on the type of business you're in. So if it's something that is a low cost of entry where they can make a quick decision, there's really no decision maker that the person has to go to, give them at least 3 days to talk to that. Or sorry, not 3 days, sorry, give them at least 2 to 3 days to make that quick decision. If it's the opposite and they do need to go and speak to a decision maker, give them up to 5 days. And that can vary. Again, you want to really play around with this, guys. This is where I'm talking about this customer journey and tracking it. Play around with it. I wouldn't always follow up with them the next day. Again, if your business is a really quick sale like that and you need to just do a next day sale or next day follow-up, do it if that works for your business. But every business, every industry is always different, but that's where you definitely need to follow up. And don't think you're being pushy. That's another thing I've heard from a lot of startups is, I don't want to be pushy. Well, that's not how you're going to close the sale. By you sending out the proposal and then taking a step back and go, oh, they'll come to me whenever they're ready. That's not what's going to close more sales. You're not going to get high conversions that way, unfortunately. Okay, you got to be on top of it. You got to just follow up in whatever way. Could be a simple phone call, could be a nice email. Just, hey, I'm just checking in to make sure you had a chance to look at the quote. Do you have any questions? Let me know. Right? Nothing pushy about it. It's just you're making sure that they got it. You're making sure that they had a chance to review it. And then, of course, the last stage would be the close. So this would be in some way to bill them, to send out an invoice of some type. That would be your final stage. Now, I'm going to ask a question. Has anybody thought about these types of sales process? Anybody put some thought into it or created or generated some type of sales process like this yet? Or is it too early at this point?
I have, Jessica. My name is Tamara.
Hi, Tamara.
Hi. I'm the owner of Classic Juice Co.
Okay.
And since the pandemic rolled around, we found an increase in a lot of our juice cleanses because people are working from home now. They have the time and the space to do that. So what I did is that I created a web form on my website, a cleanse. I was getting overwhelmed with all the emails and I couldn't keep track, and it was overwhelming. I'm a note taker, but I lose a lot of notes.
Yeah.
Created this web form and I've had to revamp it a few times, but now it's getting to the point where I really need to use these tools. It's a bit intimidating because there's a whole bunch of research I feel I need to do, but it really has helped me to understand where a lot of people are finding us, how they've heard about us. That's something new that I've done within the last 6 months, which is helpful. I've noticed that we have customers that are high value customers and are referring a lot of people to us. So it makes me want to think about incentivizing those who refer cleanses to us. And things like that. I've asked questions like, is this your first time doing a cleanse? That kind of changes the way the messaging is that I communicate. But really, it's just been a very dissected process right now. Like I'm using like canned phrases and canned messaging from my Google Drive to reply to emails. And it's completely overwhelming. So that's here tonight, is to learn more about how I can streamline everything and just not only just capitalize on sales, but also improve the user experience.
For sure. 100%. No, that's awesome that you're at that point now. You tried the manual methods and now you're looking to take the business to the next step. That's awesome. And on my next slide, actually, I'm going to show you from a web form how you can automate a lot of that functionality that you were just referring to. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Tamara. Anybody else want to share if they've, thought about a sales process that they want to put together, starting to see an increase of leads, or maybe they're just starting their marketing strategy and you want to be one step ahead? Have you thought about your sales process at all, or the pipeline?
So we have a family-owned business, affordable car rental, and we did put on our website like the it's contact me. That's how the web designer put it. And so I started getting people putting in their email address, but I haven't done anything with it. So I guess that's a start. So I'm here to learn how to take that into closing that sale lead. So
absolutely. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, let me then, in that case, let me go to the next slide here. And the last one on this slide here is our automating activities that convert, right? So that we're actually going to learn when we are getting these leads and what activities are working and what are not. So in that initial qualifying, again, what's that first email that gets sent out? That's actually,
7 o'clock.
Sorry, my computer likes to tell me what time it is. What emails are working and what are not. And again, that was all done through A/B testing on our case. I had like a series of 5 different can templates when we started out, and I was sending all 5 to 5 different leads and just seeing kind of what works. And you just keep narrowing it down. You keep figuring out what works and what doesn't. So let me go to this next slide here. So this is actually an example of how to automate that sales automation. And it all starts, great examples, from a website lead that fills out a form. Okay, so in most of your CRM systems that you might be starting to research, either they have a web form builder built in somewhere, or you have to integrate it with a web form. Either it's a WordPress form that you can have, so that as soon as the lead fills out the form, what should happen is that lead should then get created in the CRM automatically for you. So that first initial manual step of you going, oh, great, I got a lead. Okay, now I got to go open the CRM and I got to add in eliminate that step right off the bat. Make sure that the lead automatically gets created in the CRM for you. The next step at that point, if you have automations in the CRM system, should be this initial email or text message that automatically sends out to that person. So you do not need to go and manually send out an email. Okay, you've already have this kind of a canned template message that you want to send out. Honestly, guys, even if it's as simple as, thank you so much for submitting your information. Would love to set up a time with you. Here's a link to my calendar. Feel free to book a time with me. So what all that calendar stuff that I'm talking about is now the big thing is sending out a link to your availability calendar for someone to book a time with you. Okay. Gone are the days of going back and forth and sending out 3 to 5 different emails. Are you available Monday at 4, Wednesday at 3, Thursday at 2? And you send that same email out to 3 different people, and Murphy's Law, everybody picks Thursday at 2, right? Then you're going back and said, right? I see a lot of nods. I love it. So that's the whole piece you want to avoid doing. You want to take advantage, and there are free systems. I believe Calendly is one that's free. And allows you to basically create your availability calendar. So what that is it connects to your Google or Yahoo or 365 or Outlook calendar. So whatever you're adding on your calendar will then take out those available times on your actual availability calendar. So when you send out a calendar to somebody, it'll only show slots that you're available. Okay. So if I go and add, a dentist appointment on Monday at 1 o'clock, and I do that through my phone, what should happen is then that Monday at 1 o'clock will then be removed so nobody else can book a time. But what this really does is it streamlines processes so much. I can't tell you guys. I mean, on our side, this increased our conversion rates by 80%. So my team was still doing the whole, I'm going to send out emails and do this and this back and forth and give people a whole bunch of different time ranges. Now, everybody just sends out a link to their calendar and say, hey, if you want to book a time, that's awesome. Here's a link to my calendar. Let's make scheduling a lot easier for the both of us. Person clicks on it. It goes to a nice, pretty calendar. It's got your picture on it. It's got your logo on it. And they literally just click on a date and a time and they book it and away they go. It then gets booked off of your calendar. So you see, oh, look, John Doe booked a time with me. That's awesome. I did nothing. You literally did nothing until you get to that meeting with John Doe. So again, let's go back through this. Lead comes in, automatic email sent out. You didn't have to touch send or anything. You didn't even have to log into your CRM. Within this email is a link to your calendar already built in. So it's great. So great that you want to set up a demo to make things easier. Here's a link to my calendar. Boom, the person clicks on it and it goes straight to your calendar. They pick a time. That's kind of the happy path, this first one that my mouse is going over. The not so happy path is the people that submit a form. You send out your automated email, but then they don't click on the link. Or they click on the link, but then they don't actually book a time. Normal circumstances, if someone's doing this manually, what happens? You completely forget about that lead. They fall through the cracks. You move on with the next thing on your task and you totally missed out on a brand new lead, right? But instead, what you're going to do is you're going to throw them down this path, which is after, let's say, I don't know, 5 days, 3 days, whatever you choose, another email was sent out to John to say, hey, John, I noticed that you haven't yet booked a time on my calendar. Just want to follow up with you to make sure that you received my email. It's going to look and feel exactly like it's coming from you. It's going to look like a personalized email. It's going to have your nice picture, your signature and your picture and the signature and everything. And you're going to keep doing that until John books a time with you. Now, you can stop after 3 follow-up emails, 5 follow-up emails, totally up to you. But you want to make sure there's some type of follow-up process built in. So again, that you're not having to manually follow up with that lead that came in through the website. Any questions about this whole process that I'm showing here?
Jessica, it's Tamara again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm currently undergoing a website revamp. And with this path that you've shown us, it definitely comes from the website. But what comes first? Like, should I be thinking about the path right now as we build the website, or does that come afterwards?
Great question. So the only part on your website that you really need to be concerned about in order to put the person in this path is the web form. So if, let's say, for example, you're rebuilding your website in WordPress, WordPress has widgets. They have form widgets that you can utilize. Then let's say, for example, you've picked your CRM system. You know, again, going down the happy path, that CRM system integrates with that WordPress form. Worst case scenario, you pick a CRM system that doesn't connect with that CRM form, but they have their own form builder. That's okay, because in most cases, they'll just provide you with a code. It's called an embed code. And you take that and you put it onto your website. It's just the form that gets modified, nothing else on your website. The CRM doesn't touch anything else. So, I mean, it's going to go hand in hand. I would still go through with the website, get the form built the way you want to until you figured out which CRM system you're going with. If you by chance happen to find the CRM system you want to use and they have the form that you can embed on the website, boom, you've done 2 things within one. Okay.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So did that answer your question as well? Oops, sorry, go back here. Yeah, okay, perfect. All right, we'll do one last slide about automations, and then I think we'll take like a quick 5-minute break.
One question. Sorry.
Yeah.
What was that free calendar that you mentioned? The name of?
I believe Calendly. So Calend and then LY is free.
Okay, thank you.
Or it's like $10 a month. I'm not quite sure exactly. All right. So other automation examples that you can use. So that one was a very basic, like somebody makes a website inquiry. Every website you guys have it out there should have some type of contact form on there, guys. Other things you can automate is reorders. So someone bought a juice and you want to follow up with them, I don't know, 3, 6, 9 months later, have that automated. So you're keeping track. Remember we talked about custom fields earlier on? A custom field for you, Tamara, will be purchase date. So what's the original date that they purchased the first juice? And then based on that custom field, you're going to have a reminder 3 months later, 6 months later, 9 months later, hey, just checking in to make sure you're all stocked up for this month or whatever it is. But you can automate all of that. in a good CRM system that has automations built in, you should be able to automate that. Again, if that's important for you, for any company on this call here that's more product based, you want to make sure you're utilizing kind of the 3, 6, 9 month touch point rule to make sure that you're following up with those with your customers. Using automation to re-engage with customers. So if you don't need to do those, I guess, regular touch points if you're product based, but you're more service based, you know, again, just do it every 6 months and just have some type of automated email be sent out to say, hey, John, it's been a while since we connected. Just wanted to touch base, make sure everything's good with you. You know, if you want to schedule a quick call with me, here's a link to my calendar. Just something really simple, just to do a how are you type of email. Again, it'll look and feel like it's coming from you, even though the system is automatically sending it out for you. This is really important: overdue invoices, declined payments, things like that. So if you are automatically having somebody billing on a monthly or bi-weekly or annual basis, if they didn't pay, you cannot afford to go back and keep track of that manually, guys. Use a system that's following up with the customer to say, hey, unfortunately, we didn't get your payment this month. We just wanted to make sure everything's okay. You know, if their credit card's coming up to decline, you want to make sure there's a follow-up saying, hey, we noticed your credit card, not decline, sorry, expiration. We noticed your credit card is coming to expiration. We just want to make sure we grab a new credit card from you. Those types of things you cannot do manually, guys. It will just eat up your time. And these things are super, super important because collecting on payments, very, very, very important. Making sure your customers are paying on time, very important. So you want to make sure you automate those types of tasks. Other things you can automate, you know, event management. So if you're more in a service based, or if you are hosting events or things like that, automate all of that stuff. Do your automatic invite out to all the people. If they didn't sign up, if they didn't pay for a ticket, have another follow-up email sent out, you know, 5 days later or a week later, 2 weeks later, whatever it happens to be. You then have people being put into a different group. If they signed up, you've got emails automatically being sent out to them to say, hey folks, we're so excited that you're going to sign up, or that you've signed up for XYZ event. We look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks. So again, all those things that you know you want to do, just don't have the time to do it, use the system to your advantage and use automations. Okay, so I think that's a good spot to take a break. We come back, we're going to talk more about reports, which is really, really important. So Diana, I'll pass it on to you now.
Yep, so let's everyone take a quick 5-minute break and we'll be back at 7:16.
Why is having data so important, right? So having all your data captured in one platform, honestly, is the key to the growth of your company, because this allows you to really have a handle on all those different touch points, all those different areas in your business that you should have some type of handle on it, right? Knowing, again, what's working with marketing, where your marketing dollars going to, what's working from a sales perspective, you know, what's converting, how's our billing working, how much accounts receivable do we really have outstanding? So having all that data somewhere readily available is so, so important, as opposed to you kind of chasing down data. And eventually you get to the point where you just stop chasing it and then you forget about it, right? You need to be able to pull reports in a CRM system or in some way where you can export data and put it into another system, again, until you can get yourself to the point where you've got that budget to use a proper reporting tool. But being able to pull reports essentially increases your performance all across the board. It optimizes your sales and marketing, again, because you get a real handle on what's going on. And then, of course, it improves your efficiencies. So what types of reports should I be creating, right? And a lot of businesses, a lot of companies ask me this question. They're just not even sure, what am I supposed to keep track of, right? They hear a lot of buzzwords about what I'm supposed to track, especially if you're trying to go for funding or not funding, whatever it happens to be. At the end of the day, forget about all that stuff and think about, from a business standpoint, is what's going to help you grow. What is going to take your business to the next level? And that next level, only all of you know for each individual business, right? So just off the bat, in terms of like initial basic reporting that I would recommend any business, again, in any industry have, The first one would be source tracking. So we talked about this, right? Where are your prospects coming from? Are they coming from referrals, websites, networking? Keep track of that information. If you're not, you have no idea where to spend your marketing dollars. If you are putting dollars into Facebook ads right now, and at the end of the month or the end of the quarter, you pull a report to say, okay, sure, let me see how many leads I got from specifically from Facebook, and you see 0, you see a very low number, whatever it happens to be. This now allows you to do that calculation and say, this is how much money I'm paying per lead through Facebook versus most of my leads that are coming in through networking, right? Through websites. Maybe I need to stop on my Facebook leads, and maybe I need to invest more in Google ads, or maybe I just need to invest more in SEO to get my website ranking higher. Because if people are already searching for it organically, maybe I need to invest more money into SEO, right? Without that data being readily available in front of you, you have no idea, again, what's working and what's not. The next type of report I would highly recommend is deal tracking. Okay, so how many new deals did we get this month versus last month? That's just an example. You can do it on a quarterly basis. So do a comparative of how many leads did I get in this quarter versus last quarter? Did I go up or down? Why did I go up or down? Why is that data important to keep track of? Well, next year, if you're noticing that around the same time of year, your leads are dropping, next year, you know, okay, this time of the month is going to be a little bit of a lull for us. Let me budget out accordingly, right? All this information is so key in that first couple of years of your growth, because it is going to help with the rest of your growth strategy. It's going to help knowing, okay, this is our really hot months. These are our really low months. You know, are we actually, is our marketing producing good leads or not? Right? Won or lost. That's just a very basic report that you need to keep track of. Is what's our conversion rates on our deals? Are we winning? Are we losing? Are they just getting stagnated at a certain stage? So let's say, for example, you're noticing that all your leads are just stuck in that quote and proposal stage. You send out all these quotes, but you're really getting no feedback back. Good indicator. Maybe your pricing's too high. Maybe you need to work on your email that you're sending out. Maybe you're not sending out the quotes fast enough. I don't know. There's so many different factors, but you need to track your won to lost ratio. Deal value. Okay, keeping track of what that opportunity or that deal is worth, also important, because you need to do some sales forecasting. You need to make sure that you've got enough deals in the pipeline that can close to X dollars so that you're making sure your expenses are being paid, right? So that those types of kind of minimal basic reporting is going to help with your sales forecasting. Knowing what's in the pipeline, knowing the possible potential conversion rates as well is also important to keep track of. Just to forecast what could eventually turn and convert. Conversion rates. So prospect increase to deal closings. That's just a very basic report. So how many leads did we get in through that web form? How many of those leads led to a closed or a won deal, right? Very basic calculation you can do. Again, if you don't have access or the budget for a reporting tool, keep track of this in something like an Excel or Google Doc for now. From a reporting standpoint, is track as many leads as you're getting in that web form. And again, how many did you actually close that particular month? Time spent on deals. This is really important for yourself as well as for your team members. So if you're finding that you're starting to grow your sales team and, you know, Jimmy is spending 3 months to close one deal, with Susie is closing them in 1 month, there's a big discrepancy there, right? You need to track what's the average time to close those deals. And those are things that you want to track now. If it's just you right now, or you and your co-founder, whoever it is, keep track of that data, because again, when you start to grow your sales team, you can tell, you know, Jimmy, hey, on average, the sales cycle should only be X. And that's his kind of streamline that he can go above or below and make sure that he's meeting those expectations that you've set, right? Another one would be activity reports. Okay, so how many calls and meetings were done this month versus last month? Are you being as active as you should be? This I find very, very important from your own personal perspective in terms of making sure that you're being on top of your business, that you aren't focusing on the mundane stuff of the business, which again, totally guilty of as a business owner. Again, as you're growing your business, sometimes you get pulled into the nitty gritty when you really do need to focus more on the sales side of it. So this I found to be really, really eye-opening for myself, because I would give myself an activity report and pull that on me and say, okay, did I make as many cold calls as I should have this month versus last month? Did I send out as many LinkedIn messages as I should have? Did I do as many meetings this month versus last month? So keep yourself accountable that way by pulling those activity reports. As you're working opportunities and deals, you'll find other key indicators that work for you and that motivate you. Okay, so one thing that I've found motivates myself and my team members, we have a report on the next touch point. So in our deal reporting, we're able to see all the deals that we currently have open that do not have a next touch point set. So what that means is I've got all these open deals and I don't have any type of follow-up set up with them. They're still open, which means that no matter what, there should be some type of activity that's set in the future, whether that's in a day, in a month, in 3 months. If somebody came back and said, you know what, Jessica, I got your proposal. Our budget is going to be open again in 3 months. Follow up with me then. What I do is I go into the CRM, I set up a follow-up reminder for myself in 3 months, and it will remind me, because God knows Jessica will not remember in 3 months on her own. She's got way too much going on up there. So you got to make sure you're taking advantage of putting those reminders in for yourself. So in all of our deals, in our weekly sales meetings, we go through and say, are there any open deals that currently do not have a next touch point? If I see any that have empty, you got to go in and make sure you're reading your notes and say, okay, why don't I have a next touch point set up? If the person said no, close the deal, move on to the next one. Right? So just make sure you're always on top of your deals, and you'll eventually, like I said, come up with your own indicators, key performance indicators that work for you in terms of motivation and keeping yourself accountable to make sure you're on top of your deals as much as you should be, and that you are working on the sales side of your business as much as you should be as well, and not the nitty-gritty mundane stuff. Any questions about reports at all? All right, take the silence as a no. Let's move to the next slide. Next slide is pretty simple. Who needs to use a CRM? All businesses of all sizes, of all industries, you should be using a CRM. And I'm not just saying this because I'm in the CRM business. I'm saying this because every business should have one. We tell all businesses, you know, whatever the system that you choose that works for your business at this time, just do it. And when should you do it? Right away. Okay. Again, it doesn't matter if you're still starting out, whether you're scaling, whether you're already, you know, established in your business, have some type of back-end system that's working for you. Okay. At the beginning, if you've got no budget, that's okay. Utilize an Excel for now. Don't just not use anything, please. Utilize that. Utilize Excel or Google Drive just to keep track of certain things. Keep track of those custom fields and those that data that you want to keep track of, at least for now. Because when you do go and find the CRM that's right for you at the right time, there should be some type of import functionality where you can just take that Excel and import it in, right? So you're eliminating the step of going backwards and having to manually input data. All right, so how the heck do we choose the right CRM for our company? Okay, if anybody has done research, there are hundreds and hundreds of options out there. Whether it's just a standalone CRM, whether you're looking for something to help manage your billing, whether you're looking for an email marketing software or a landing page builder or social media or whatever it happens to be, how do you choose the right tools? So I'm just going to throw out some information at you guys in terms of what I would do if I was going back and looking for a right CRM for me, just types of questions that you really want to ask yourself and the types of things you want to look for in a CRM that's going to work for you and your business. Okay. So the first thing is, what are the biggest challenges that you're having in your business right now? Right? Where are the gaps? Where are we dropping the ball? Do we not have any qualified leads right now? you need something for marketing then. If you've got a lack of qualified leads, you need to work on some marketing strategies. You need to work on some content strategies to make sure you're following up with those leads with the right time, with the right content. Same with lack of follow-up. Are you finding you're getting all these leads coming in, you send out the initial email, you get pretty excited about it, and then there's just boom, no lack of follow-up at all. You just totally forget, which is fine because we're all human. You can only remember as much as you can remember, but are you finding that is where you're dropping the ball? If yes, look for automations, okay? Low conversion rates. This could be because maybe you're not actually tracking your sales process right now to make sure what's working and what's not. Again, you're getting all these leads coming in, but you're not closing them. So you need a tool to help you to create a process that's going to help you track how to better convert those leads into customers. Same thing, lack of processes. Are you just kind of going nitty gritty? You get up in the morning, you sit in front of your laptop and you're just going to go with whatever you know. If that's what it is, start implementing processes, but use technology to implement those processes and to follow them. Too many manual touch points. Same thing, go back and look for something with automations. If you're finding you're doing way too many manual touch points when it comes to simple things like billing, people haven't paid for their bill and you're literally every week constantly following up and checking your notes and going, oh my God, did John pay or not? Again, implement automations in that case. Maybe you're not keeping track of inventory. Okay, there are some CRM systems that actually have an inventory management system that's built in or that you can integrate with. Okay, if you've got some type of Shopify e-commerce system, sometimes they have an inventory management system that you can also sync in with your CRM. Okay, so there's tons of different challenges that we can go through. It just depends. You got to really take a step back. Go, where are we weak right now in the business? Why are we not going to the next level? What am I doing way too manually right now? Again, high accounts receivable. Maybe you just haven't been billing properly. Maybe we need to implement something like a QuickBooks or FreshBooks or whatever it is, but making sure that that also integrates with the CRM. These are hard questions to ask. Trust me, I know, but it's only going to help you become better in your business. All right. What should you look for in a CRM? So once you've kind of figured out those questions, figured out your biggest challenges, a couple of like basic functionality that we've talked to you about today that I would highly recommend you look for, again, in any system that you go for, look for a way to import and export your contacts. So that's through either a CSV import or an Excel. Those are the two most common ways. CSV is your Excel. Again, that's because if you have it in a Google Doc or Google Excel or a regular Excel, make sure you can download it and you've got it in some type of format that you can just drop right into your CRM system as opposed to you manually entering data. That is also the biggest hurdle I've seen from businesses who just are so hesitant to get into a CRM because they literally think they have to sit there and type every single contact person's information in there. No, look for a way to import in bulk from an Excel into the CRM. Look for something that has, again, just some type of method to segment your contacts, to keep track of who's who, where did you meet them, those types of things that you can track going forward. Have some way to create a process, whether or not you guys think you need a process, you need one. Whether it's 1 or 2 or 3 stages, you need some way to track it, whether it's sales, whether it's a project pipeline you need to create, or whether it's onboarding. So you've done the sales, you know the sales part's easy, it's all done automatically through the website, let's say. Great. But then afterwards, you need to onboard them or you need to support them. So make sure that you're keeping track of those particular stages from start to finish of that customer's journey. Next would be your reporting functionality. This is really important. I know in some CRM systems, they charge extra for reporting. If it's within the budget, highly recommend it. If it's not, I'll talk about a way we can do it for free without doing it that way. But reporting is really, really, really important. Otherwise, you're just inputting data into a system and really getting nothing back, right? That's not going to be helpful. If we went down that list of questions, right, and you saw marketing was an issue, automations was an issue, make sure that you find a system that does integrate with other tools. Whether that is integrating with other other systems and doing third-party integrations, or whether it's built in or not, look for things that integrate with marketing tools. You know, do your email marketing more effectively. Manage your social media if that's become an issue for you. Managing your social media, there are some tools that have an integration with social media, so you can schedule out your posts in advance. Landing pages, if you're looking to sell products or sign up for events or programs, landing pages are amazing at that. Don't only rely on your website to drive traffic to standalone landing pages where people can just sign up. Web forms, which we talked about, and surveys has become really, really important, especially when it comes to things like getting customer feedback. Make sure you have some way, if that is really important, to make sure that you're getting accolades or that you're just knowing what's working, what they like, what they don't like. Utilize surveys as part of your strategy or as part of your process overall. Other tools you can integrate with would be your supporting tools, your ticketing systems, things like that. So if you do want to have some type of email support systems in place, you can implement or integrate with a ticketing system. And then of course, billing. This is always a huge kind of struggle for a lot of businesses when you're starting out, especially if you don't have a full-time or a part-time person working on billing. Look for a system that does integrate with QuickBooks or FreshBooks, that integrates with PayPal or Stripe, so you have a way to collect money, and or if you need an inventory management, right? So again, at the end of the day, guys, it just depends what is your strategy, what are you trying to achieve here, and what are your biggest pain points. And the way you want to do that is essentially you want to create yourself a CRM strategy. Okay, so what exactly is that? A CRM strategy is essentially your company's plan in terms of how you're going to use the CRM system to help grow your business and nurture your customer relationships. Okay, so that's really important. Before we start researching out what's out there, figure out what you need first, right? So the way to do that is you just want to focus on three main things. So outline your company's goals, right? What is it that you're trying to do with the company? Are you trying to take it to the next level? Are you trying to better your marketing? Are you trying to get more leads in? What are your goals overall as a company? And only you can answer that. Identify your customers. Who are they? What types of methods are they using to find you, right? All goes back to our customer personas that we've all done. And then understanding your buyer's journey, right? So this way you have some understanding of who your customers are, how they buy, how they purchase, what they use to find you. Just having a better understanding of that will allow you to pick the right CRM system for you. So if you need something, if you have customers that only purchase through your website, it's very important then for you to find a CRM system that integrates with your website. Okay, if you find customers are really only making calls, that's how they buy from you, is only calls. They just do not, so maybe it's an older clientele, they really don't search online. They only like to do the pick up the phone and call. Make sure you've got a voice over IP system that integrates with your CRM. So it really comes back to you knowing your business and knowing who your customers are. That's what's going to really help you to narrow down what type of CRM is going to help you. All right. Next, we've got really these are just kind of quick best practices to be more productive, to be more profitable on a budget. Okay, so if you don't have a high budget, it's really not in the expenses right now. Like I said before, there are a lot of options out there in terms of standalone CRM systems that are either free or are low cost. Okay, the free ones do have limitations, so they'll give you kind of A, B, and C, and D to Z. You gotta upgrade. But again, if you're looking to kind of get your feet wet with a CRM, start just inputting that important data. Make sure you can export that data out, because if that's not the system for you at the end of the day, you want to make sure you can take that data with you. But really start researching for low cost or free CRMs. Using separate systems for now. Okay. The plan here is not to do this forever, guys. The plan here, because we're all on a budget right now, is we're going to use these separate systems, these separate siloed systems for now. And the plan is to outgrow this strategy. Okay, so keep track of this. Make sure you're not continually doing this for years. Give yourself a deadline. That'll really help motivate you and say, listen, I got to close these many deals in order to give myself this much in my budget to budget for a CRM system that's going to help me close more leads. And I'm going to give myself, let's say, 3 months to do it. Give yourself those types of goals, those types of motivations to help you take it to the next level. But don't rely on just separate systems, because eventually you'll outgrow it. That's the whole point. We got to scale fast, but we got to outgrow this whole using separate system stuff, because it doesn't always, it's not going to be the most efficient for your business. But use it for now while we're working up to it. Use automations. So in some systems, like I said, in some of the free or the low cost CRMs, they may not have those automated emails that you can send out, but they should have reminders that you can set for yourself, whether that's through your calendar or whether that's through the CRM system. Like I said, if you sent out a quote, as soon as you send out the quote, set yourself a reminder 5 days later to say, follow up with John. Right? That'll just trigger your mind to go, oh yeah, I sent John a quote 5 days ago. Let me grab my template for my Google Drive doc and just send that out. Right? Just remind yourself to do those things, because you writing a reminder in your notebook or a Post-it note on your monitor, not going to help you. You need something automated technology-wise that will actually remind you of that. Creating templates. So creating templates, Tamara mentioned this as well. She creates templates and puts them in her Google Drive. Great idea. Put them in a notepad, whatever it is. But please don't keep constantly typing out the same email over and over again. This will help you to take your 5 templates that you've created and test them out. Right? So on Mondays, I'm going to use this template. Tuesdays, I'm going to use this template. That's a good way to track it. And just make sure you're playing around with the email follow-ups and you're not sending the same thing over and over again. If reporting is extra money in the CRM, and again, it's just not in the budget right now, continue to utilize Excel and Google Drive. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to extract the data out of the CRM and you can generate very basic reports. You can use the pie charts and things like that for basic functionality in your Excel. Okay, so you could utilize those just for now. Keep track of your data nicely. Excel does provide a nice clean way to look at your data. Unfortunately, it just doesn't have the method to follow up or just to remind you of stuff. But if you're just looking for a nice clean way to go, okay, what's my ratio of win to lost? You've got the wins in the nice green money color and the lost in the red. Okay, great. I can pull a quick report to show me this is how many I had this month versus last month. But again, being able to extract the data or export it from your CRM system is really important. So that would be one thing you want to look for. All right, and last slide here, top 5 ways to use a CRM most effectively. Just kind of wrapping things up now, guys, in terms of what we've gone through. These would be my top 5 methods in terms of how to use it the most effectively. Again, whatever tool you're going to use. Use a CRM for more than just a contact database. If you're going to do that, use your cell phone. Don't just input first name, last name, email and say, yeah, I'm using a CRM for my business. Yeah, you're using one, just not very effectively. Eliminate unnecessary data entry, right? So having that plan of what is necessary, knowing what you're going to put into it, knowing what groups you're going to create, and knowing what custom fields you want to generate so that in the future, okay, I'm going to pull reports on knowing how many people attended this particular event in this particular demographic. So I can go after that demographic on LinkedIn, right? So make sure that you have that plan, that strategy before you start using the CRM. Use it to collaborate across departments. I know this sounds early on right now for us, but as you guys are growing your teams, everyone's kind of spread around, right? So use this centralized platform to really collaborate, making sure that everyone's got a touch point on the customers. Everyone's got touch points on the communication that's happening. Documents are all in one place. So nobody's saying, oh, I got it saved on my laptop here. I've got it saved on Dropbox over here. Use a centralized place to keep track of all of that information. Tracking a customer's buying journey. This is kind of an ongoing process, guys. Just because you've sold or you've met your expectations that particular month in terms of your sales forecasting, consistently track that customer's buying journey. Make sure that you're always being on front because every customer is different, right? You may narrow down and say these types of customers need to go in this particular type of pipeline and these need to go in this pipeline, but you're never going to know that until you're actually tracking it. So constantly keep using the CRM to track that journey. And lastly, most importantly, really is creating those reports. Honestly, they really help with the overall growth of your company. If you don't know what's actually working and what's not, you cannot take, it won't help you to take your business to the next level, because you just don't have those insights that you really, really need to scale at the stage you want to scale. All right, I'm gonna open it up to questions now.
So I think there was some conversation in the chat of a free CRM. Does that exist?
There are some tools, yes, they claim to be free. As I said, what happens though is they then limit certain functionality. So they might give you access to 100 contacts. They may give you access to 10 custom fields. But the reporting's extra, right? So yes, they are free. They can market themselves as free because they're not going to take a credit, or they won't charge you for it, but you will eventually hit those limitations. So try them so you get a handle of how it works, but you probably will, I'm not trying to be negative Nelly here, but you probably will get to the point where you're going to hit those limitations, which is actually a good thing for your business, because then you know you need more. You need more from the system.
And kind of a follow-up to that from Jeff is, what type of money, does the CRM cost? How much should we budget for?
Good question. So I haven't done competitive research in a while, but I mean, I know there are just standalone CRM systems that start $10, $15 a month, but they can make their way up, right? So if you start adding in stuff like, let's say you want to integrate with an email marketing software like MailChimp, well, then you need to go to MailChimp and find out how much they are. And then you're kind of paying. That's why we don't recommend doing the separate systems, but it works for now. But you're going to have to do those separate payments. And then it kind of all bundles together, unless you can find a system that has everything in one and they have a plan kind of for small businesses that will help you. But I mean, the prices really range across the board.
One of the reasons I asked that, Jessica, was because I was just going through the TieIt page. And I noticed that I'm not anywhere near the league for all of your testimonials there.
Oh, no.
And you seem to have picked a target there. There's a lot of franchise associations that are using
so
it.
That was all trial and error. When we started out with selling TieIt, our target market was small businesses. We wanted to help the business owners that are doing 17 different things at once. And we still have a lot of small businesses using our system that have actually grown using it. And then we just found different niches. So we've got like 80 different industries using the system, like I said, ranging from government to large corporations, which we never thought would be possible. We built the system for small businesses. But like I said, as you guys are going to keep scaling, these problems are going to continue happening, right? You're going to keep growing and your technology has to grow with you. So the CRM system you pick today may not be the one you're going to use a couple months down the road or a couple years down the road, because you're going to eventually outgrow it, which is a good thing. It's a nuisance to some, but it is a good thing. So.
Perfect. I see that, Tamara, you have your hand raised. You can go ahead.
So I've had to take a bit of a backseat to the day-to-day operations, which is a good thing, but I feel like I've lost a bit of touch. And maybe sometimes it's a blurry line between our target demographic and our customer personas. And I wonder if there was a tool or an exercise that you recommend for us to revisit that, because initially it was women between a certain age group. And I find that, and I think the pandemic has to do with that, but I also think it's who's been left on the front lines. Like male presence has come into the space. And I feel like before I dive into this, I need to understand that a bit more. So that you recommend to establish personas again?
Oh gosh, honestly, I wish I had the answer. That's an ongoing challenge. Like I was just mentioning to Jeff, like our customer persona changed, every 6 months. Because we found different leads coming in from different sources. Now, that doesn't mean you kind of change focus and go after whatever lead comes in. I would not recommend that either. If your target is females, let's say as an example, focus your marketing around that, right? But then if you're finding the same number of male leads are coming in as the female, then at that point you may want to stop and say, okay, maybe I should change my marketing or change my strategy. But if you're finding a few males here and there, and it's not enough for you to really change your whole entire content or your marketing, personally, this is everybody could have a different opinion. Really, it's just stay focused on your customer persona that you're seeking. If it's working, if it's not working at all, then really take a step back and go, okay, maybe I need to open up the doors a little bit more. Right. But that's all comes down to tracking it. So, I mean, you need to start keeping track of that demographic, right? And keeping track of gender and saying, is it males? Is it females? Is it others? You know, those types of things, and just keep track of that information, and then seeing which leads are closing more. And then going, okay, you know, now it's worth it for me to spend some extra Facebook ad dollars on the male demographic, and then modify your marketing that way.
We have another almost follow-up question to the one what you were discussing before about outgrowing your CRM. If you are transitioning from one CRM to the other and you need to transfer your data, is there additional cost for that, or is it usually a almost seamless process?
Good question. So it just depends on the new company you go with. In most CRMs, they don't charge you to export your data out. It's your data, right? So there should not be a fee to export your data out. That's a really good question to ask before you onboard. Now, when you get to the new CRM system, depending on the state of your data, yes, there could be a fee for them to clean up your data and then import it into their system, because every system kind of reads data differently. So they may ask you, take your data, export it out of that system and put it into a new or into a new Excel, and then we can import it for you. Or they, you know, have a seamless process where you can do it yourself and import it yourself as well. But again, it just depends. Sometimes there will be a fee. It also depends on the number of contacts that you have. If you're in the tens of thousands, there might be a fee for them to clean up that data. If you're not, you could possibly just do it yourself. So that's why I say it's really important to have a way to export your data out of the CRM where they're not going to charge you to take your data out.
Definitely important questions to ask before you sign up for a new CRM system. Karina, I see you have your hand raised. You can go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
Hello.
Hi.
Your last answer kind of leads into my next question, and that was regarding who owns the data. And when we sign up for these kind of programs, are we giving permission for that company to access our data for, you know, other purposes beyond serving our customers?
Yeah. That's a huge discussion point that's in our industry right now. So that is a challenge and a problem that does come with free systems. Right. You got to make sure that you're asking them, yes, I'm using your system for free. Are you using my data? Are you using my customers' data? And in some cases, as we know with other systems that are out there, they do utilize your data, especially if it's free, right? Things like SurveyMonkey, I've heard, has done it. They've gone away, you know, a lot of different systems out there, Google Forms, things like that. Like, you're using these free systems, but they are utilizing and doing stuff with your data. We make people sign an 11-page front and back document. It's the most boring read you've ever seen, but there's 6 pages of it that outline your data, that we don't touch it. We don't do anything with it. So make sure there's some type of terms of service, terms and agreements, you know, something in there that explicitly says, you know, you don't use my data. It's a very important question to ask, because the last thing you want to do is get caught and not even know that people are doing something with your data without you even knowing, right? That just totally takes your business down. So
yeah, because as an online business, we have to make a guarantee to our customers that we are going to keep their data safe when they release it to us.
Yep.
So I think it's our responsibility to make sure that when we're using our customers' data for whatever purpose that might be within our business, then we're using it with people that we trust and we know what the terms are
100%
beforehand. So that is what has kept me from signing up to a CRM system.
Oh, so, I get it. I totally get it.
So I have all of my data hard copy, sign up from trade shows. Lucky
yeah.
I got to do the trade shows before everything shut down, because I do have a new product that I'm going to launch, and a lot of people would like to have that product.
Nice.
So I asked them just to sign up the old-fashioned way, because even at that time, I couldn't guarantee the safety of their data, except for if I collected it that way. So I'm really at ground zero, but I'm also at the point of launching all at the same time. Yeah, so
Exciting.
it is very exciting, and it's a very good product, and the time has come and the market is ready. So I'm sitting on a golden egg. And but my question then to you would be, for your kind of service, what kind of monthly fee, or are there packages to start, or like what kind of expenses should we be allotting in our business plan for something like this? Because it is part of my business. Between that and me, we can run the whole business.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
No, it's a good question. Honestly, we do have plans specifically for startups. It's a heavily discounted rate for startups. As I mentioned, I love working with startups and mentoring you guys and stuff like that. So I'll put my contact information up so you guys can contact me if you're interested, and we can have a chat to make sure, first of all, that this is the right tool for you. I want to make sure that it is. And if I don't think it is, I will be 100% honest with all of you guys and say, you know what, this is either too much right now, or it's just not even going to work for you guys. You need to find something else, and I'll help you find whatever you need to find. But yeah, we can definitely chat. Cool. Other than that though, like, again, it all comes down to your CRM strategy. So make sure before we chat, make sure you come and tell me, these are my challenges. This is what I'm facing. This is what I think at this point need right now, because you can kind of pick and choose modules at this point. And as you start to grow, the hope is that you're adding on modules so you can take your business to the next level.
Yeah, I have an initial goal for the business. So maybe we can reverse engineer from that goal,
100%.
from sort of where I'm at now to where I want to be in a certain amount of time. And then look at the services that would be required to go forward. But yeah, I'd be excited to work with you.
Absolutely. And one thing I would recommend, Karina, those hard copy leads you got, put them into an Excel, at least into an Excel, not a Google Drive Excel, because that one's open
Excel
source.
is mine.
Mine.
Yeah. I like that. So I will start there, and then I will book an appointment with you.
Awesome. Awesome.
There you go. Got my homework cut out. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
It was a great session. Really, it was. Yeah.
Thank you.
So I think we are good. Jess, do you have any final thoughts or anything else you wanted to share before we close off?
No, just thank you everyone for your time. Really had a good time talking and chatting with all of you. Really excited to hear more about your businesses. So yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or send me a quick email, and would love to chat.
Thank you so much, Jess, for really sharing all of your knowledge and your information on CRM. I know you have tons of it and you can talk for hours about it. But thank you so much for sharing that and all the useful tips for everyone. And I'm sure there's lots more questions that people have. They can definitely contact you directly. If they have any questions, you can contact us as well. And we can always forward that information to Jess. So hopefully we will see you guys next week and for the remainder of the sessions. And everyone have a good evening. Thank you. Good night.